In all programs, there are two primary components. The data, that is, the stuff that we keep in our memory, and the behavior, the things that the programs can do, the functions. And in order for us to deal with that, to organize things like that, well, we initially had languages, let's say like Java, like Scheme, that had different ideas of what we can do. And we learned how Java and Scheme were the inspiration of JavaScript. We also learned that there's things like functions and objects in JavaScript that are really, really important. We learned all about prototypal inheritance, about functions and their useful tools like closures, and the idea that functions were first-class citizens in JavaScript. Objects allow us to do prototypal inheritance. And from that idea, we also had functional programming and object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming says that bringing together the data and its behavior in a single location called an object and containing all of that in a box makes it easier to understand how our programs work. Functional programming says that data and behavior are distinctly different things and should be kept separate for clarity. So perhaps instead of having a one giant box to describe everything, we have multiple boxes. The way that I like to think about it is object-oriented programming is like building a robot. We have a head component, an arm component, maybe a chest component, legs component, antenna components, and we build those together. Well, functional programming says just give me a data and I'll act upon that data through functions, and I'll return something new from the data that you gave me. Now, if you're still confused, don't worry. We're going to really dive into this topic. But the goal of these two sections coming up is not to show you that it's functional programming versus object-oriented programming. Yes, I know that's the title of the sections, but my goal at the end of these sections is to convince you that these are actually complementary. It's not one over the other. Instead, it's about using both paradigms in unison to make beautiful programs. You see, the beauty of JavaScript is that it is multi-paradigm. We can use both of these techniques to make our code easy to reason about, to make it clearer, to make it more understandable, easy to extend, more efficient. And we can use each of these paradigms based on our problems and use the techniques in each to pick the right paradigm for the specific problem. And you see, we already started on our journey of functional programming and object-oriented programming. You remember the two pillars? Well, the two pillars finally allow us to learn about these topics. Closures were a big part of functions. And without closures, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we're going to show you for functional programming. And without prototypes, we're not going to be able to do the things that we're going to be able to do in object-oriented programming. So we have our stepping stones ready. Now, the only thing we have left to do is to start. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.